Hey, welcome people to the cell. This is my beautiful wife, Edie. Uh, People used to always ask me, how it felt to be away from her, when I was locked up. And I'm going to tell you right now, it wasn't no fun. I miss my baby. But when it was visiting time, man, I used to be like, hey, get to see my baby today right there. Ain't she beautiful, y'all? You know what I'm saying? I'm here for you. So I'm letting her know. Good morning, I wake up. Before I put on my makeup, I say a little prayer for you. I'm combing my hair now, wondering what to wear now. I say a little prayer for you, forever, forever. I gotta burn out, y'all. Gotta visit, but I'll be back to tell you another story. Peace out. Love, like, and subscribe. Hey, welcome YouTube. I went to go and visit with my wife, but she don't watch a little TV and she's out like a light. So I thought I'd go ahead and visit with y'all and tell y'all another story. The name of this story is called I'll Check Into It. Back in the day, a lot of my stories deal with Kansas City, Missouri, because that's what I did, was be out in the streets a lot. A lot of times I sold a lot of drugs and went through a lot of trials and tribulations out there. But this particular time, it started off down in 12th Street. And the reason why it's so significant is because back then, it wasn't no such thing that I knew of or anybody else that I knew of any Crips or Bloods. And so when I came to Kansas City at that time, I'm originally from there, but I came to bring drugs from Los Angeles, California. And I hung around a bunch of Hoover Crips, 74 Hoover Crips. And so just hanging around them, they wore blue, I wore blue. Blue's my favorite color anyway, so that worked out pretty good for me. So when I was down in the projects, most people knew me from Los Angeles, and they thought, I was 74 Hoover Crip. So I had these little guys that wanted to work for me in this house right off of Brighton Heights. And so they asked me, since they was working for me, were they going to be LA Crips too? And so I said, man, have you ever been to LA? And one little guy named Woody, I told him, nah, man, you ain't never been to LA. You ain't no LA Crip, man. You from Kansas City, and we from 12th Street. So we 12th Street Crips. So that's what we started claiming, 12th Street Crips. And Woody and my brother, Jay, were the first two Kansas City Crips. And they claimed Crips. That's why even to this day, Kansas City 12th Street is Crips. And that's why. So anyway, I took them out in my Suburban, and we went to the mall and bought some white tees, blue Dickies, and the rest, is history from there. And that's how 12th Street Crips was formed. But that's not really the premises of this particular story. I just thought I'd share that little bit of history with y'all, in case anybody was wondering. But this particular story is called I'll Check Into That. So one of the guys that I had in the house that particular time named Dre. So Dre said, hey man, let me sit. And I didn't know that little dude, It's just something about him, man. Just didn't sit right with me. But Woody liked him. And Woody was like, nah, man, he cool. So my brother Jay liked him. So I was like, all right, man, let him sit. So anyway, had this dope house off of Brighton Hills. So this particular dope house was a powder house. Anybody know anything about cocaine is what I sold, was powder. So most of the black people, they bought rocked up. They bought it when you process it in the crack, And most of the Europeans, when they didn't like it like that, they wanted a powder form. They snorted it or shot it or whatever they did, but that's how they wanted it. So whenever a lot of people would come by that house, I really was trying to chase the white clientele, not necessarily, so I wouldn't sell no crack out of this particular place. So anyway, everything was going pretty good for the most part, if you consider selling drugs, pretty good, but I was making, quite a bit of money. And this little guy that I'm telling you about, Dre, man, he was real hard-headed, man. He didn't listen at all. And I really regretted that I put him in the spot, but I'll tell you why. So I didn't want them to interact with any of the customers, one-on-one, because I didn't want them to get in a situation where they had to defend themselves or whatever, and they end up getting hurt, because these were little guys that didn't have really no seasoning in the streets. They weren't really acclimated to what to do. So what I did was, when I put them in this particular house, the house was bolted up pretty good. They could get out if they wanted to, but it was extremely hard to get in. And I allowed one pistol in that house, no more than that. And it was just a little 22 Ruger that was in there. And I was real, real strict about anybody picking it up. I didn't want to pick it up. Young guys have a tendency of picking pistols up and pointing it at each other. I don't know why, but they do. And you know what happens when that kind of nonsense starts. So anyway, I wanted them to feel like they had some form of protection in there. But anyway, the people, when they came to this little window on the side of the house, and like most of my dope houses did, they knocked on the window, announced whatever they wanted. If they wanted $50 worth of powder, they put their $50 in there, and he gave them $50 with the product, whichever one. They took turns making the serves. So this particular time, like I said, everything seemed to be going good, and I'm driving down the street, and a dude that I was copping some weight from called me. And I was shocked because really, man, I was waiting on, he's supposed to be waiting on me to call him, not the other way around. But when he called me, he said, yeah, man, you got a little dude that's selling dope for you down in that house off of Brighton. And I said, yeah. He said, name Dre? I said, yeah. He said, yeah, man, he's trying to cop a quarter key. And I think he's trying to run that quarter key through your house. Well, that right there is a serious infraction. That's not something, to be taken lightly. Anytime you do something like that, you got to address that. But I was trying to get away from addressing everything violently. When you're in the streets, man, it's real quick to, be violent real quick. So I was trying to, see if I can handle this situation and in a different manner. So I said to myself at this particular time, I'll check into it. So I told dude, man, I appreciate him calling, because he could have, participated in that. He could have sold him those drugs. He could have ran those drugs through that house. And later on, I would have found out, because you always find out that kind of thing, what he did and where he got it from. He didn't want to blow his connection with me because I was spending quite a lot, a bit of money. And me and him was pretty cool. So I was trying to think, man, how can I handle this situation with this dude, And I said, I know what I'll do. We'll just make that $9,000, because that's what the minimum he had to have to get a quarter key. We just going to make that go away. So when I go to the house, and he asked me, could he use one of my cars? I had several cars, and on the weekends, I would let him, use a bucket. That's what I call one of my old cars or something like that. Let them use a bucket for the weekend. But I told them, nah, they got to buy their own car now. And I said, but I'll help you get one. He said, well, when are you going to help me get one? I told him, I'll check into it. So I made a couple of calls with a partner of mine that owned a little car lot, and named Don Wright. I said, Don Wright owned a car lot, and we took him up there to Don's. So we get up there to Don's, and I had already instructed Don, hey, this dude got about $9,000, man. So don't sell him no little cheap car, no $1,800 car, $2,000 car. Let's try to get this money up out of him. So anyway, the guy refused to buy a car, for that type of money. He didn't want to spend all his money. And Don ended up talking him into getting one for about $3,500. So $3,500 of the $9,000 was gone. And he had this little bucket, little car. So anyway, we did the car down there, and I told him, I said, man, that paint job on that car, it just won't do. You're going to have to get something nice, man. No decent woman going to be seen dead in that. He said, well, what we going to do about it? Should we take it to Mako? I told him, Mako? Hell no, man. No woman going to get no car and be riding around with no paint job from Mako. We're going to take it up there on 31st to the Mexicans on Vargas. Now, they going to lay it out. They did really, really nice jobs back then. They do really, really nice jobs to this day. So we go up there, and anytime you take it up there, man, to get a paint job, that price was, at least $5,000. So they looked the car over and everything, and they tell him, man, it'd be $5,000 to do the body work, paint the car. And so he was like, oh, man, that's way too much. I said, man, just give him $1,000 down. You pick the car up later on. It take months to fix the car. By that time, you be done made plenty of money. So he give him $1,000 down. We throw him the keys to the car. And when he get in the car, I'm supposed to take you back to the spot. That's what we call Dope House. I said, let me run back in there and make sure that they understand what we want. So I'll run back in there and I tell them, man, I want this car done as quickly as possible, man. Just go ahead and rush it through. And I'll go back in the car, drop him off at the spot. So now that took care of $4,500 of that $9,000. So it took a couple of weeks later. Of course, he was making a little bit more money. And so I had to calculate that into the equation too. But a couple of weeks later, Vargas called and they wanted the rest of their money and for him to pick up his car, So we go up there and he's like, man, I thought you said it was going to take months. I said, yeah, man, but they know you a special customer, man, so they went ahead and got you through. You have to pay them their money. Other than that, they charge $100 a day for storage. $100 a day? I said, yeah, $100 a day. So he went ahead and gave him the $4,000. So that took care of a nice chunk of that money that we don't have to worry about that, because I need to keep him under control. So he get the car sitting out in front of the dope house. And half the time he ain't selling no dope. I guess he's just sitting in the car daydreaming or something. I don't know. So I tell him, I said, man, you're going to have to get that car registered. Get some license, insurance, and everything. And he said, well, how much is that going to cost? And I let him know. I'll check into that. So when I come back with the figures on what it's going to cost to register it and everything else, I had a girl that was going to take him down and do everything. And, of course, you had to pay her because she wasn't going to ride you around and help you take care of your business for free. That was going to be a mere pittance of $500 for her, plus the license fees, insurance, etc. And Missouri State inspection. We have to have that too. So he didn't want to get that done. He didn't want to get that done. He's real adamant. He gonna wait. I'm making him spend all his money. So I come back a couple of days later. When I pull up, I noticed that the tags on the car said November, and we were in like June or July. Anytime you go to the DMV, they're not gonna give you no November tags in June or July. So automatically, I peep game. I already seen them tags on that car are stolen. He done paid, a smoker, which is another word for a drug addict, to go out and get him some stolen tags, stuck them on his car. So he said, yeah, man, I took care of the tags. The guy hooked me up. I said, man, he hooked you up on nothing. You get pulled over. Them stolen tags, you're going to catch a case. So he didn't want to listen. Like I said, I wasn't finna argue with this dude about something that, that he don't want to listen. He, hard head make a sound fast, the way I was raised. So everything else was going, reasonably good. making money until the guy that was next door, pretty nice guy, man, and he ran a shooter house. So anybody that don't know what a shooter house is, that's a guy that uses drugs. And what he does is, you have a lot of people that they might be a secretary downtown, they might work for the post office, they might be a off-duty policeman or policewoman, but they don't know where to go get no dope at. They might be construction workers, painters, whatever, but they don't know where to get the dope at. But they know the guy who runs a shooter house, he already know where to get the best dope at. So he already got a lot of clientele. So when he come next door, and let's say that they spending $300, he's gonna buy $300 worth of drugs from us, and of course we're gonna have to give him something. So we might give him $350, and then once we give him the $350, he gonna go back and they gonna give him something, or he gonna get to use the drugs with them. So what he ended up doing is he ended up hooking up with these guys, and these guys were construction workers. So I had seen them, but they had never came over to the house before. And it was about 3 white dudes, but they looked kind of hard. And anybody that been dealing with dudes that's dealing with construction, maintenance, them type of dudes, man, they ain't soft. They ain't nothing to be, played with. If you take their money, man, give them whatever it is that their agreement is, because you got to deal with these dudes. These dudes are, a lot of them, man, they grew up in and out the streets. Some of them been in prisons, and they ain't taking no shit. But this particular night, man, they had worked all week, and they wanted to get high, and they wanted to do some what they call speedball. Speedball is when you take some cocaine and heroin, and you shoot the cocaine in one arm and the heroin in the other arm at the same time. They call that speedball. So I guess it take you up, and then they drop you down as far as the high go. So they give him the $1,500. He's supposed to come over and get $750 worth of coke, which he did. So he come over, and he told me that he wanted to give me a call, so because he wanted something big for spending this much money at one time. Because normally he come over and he just get 100 or 200, but this particular time it was a big deal for him. And so when they called me, I told him, man, give him an extra 100, and just take it off of whatever you owe me. And so they did. And then off he went. And you would think that'd be the end of it, but nah. He went to go get the heroin off of 31st Street. So when he went to go get this heroin, my understanding was, I know the dude that he went to go get it from. I talked to him after this situation happened, and he did sell it to him. But after he sold it to him, man, the dude ran off with their money. So they are looking for this dude and looking for this dude, and they ain't hot because, they done worked all week for this money, and this dude done ran off with their $1,500. And which didn't make no sense because he lived right next door to where we were selling from. So they came over to the house when I pulled up that night, and they wanted to search the house. My first instinct was, hell no, you ain't searching my house, because I don't know you motherfuckers, man. Shit, you come in here talking about you gonna search my house like you're fucking police or something like that. So we kind of locked horns for a minute, but then I thought about the whole situation, and like I said, I was trying to handle things where it wasn't in a violent nature all the time. So I was like, why not let them search it? I don't want them thinking we stashing this dude over here and we got, part of their money. So I said, man, go ahead and let them search the house, man. Search to their content. They want to come back and search again, let them, I don't care. So they go in there, look around and everything else. The dude come out, he apologized, and I told him, man, look, I ain't got nothing to do with the dude taking y'all money. He did come to the house and he spent $750 on some coke, and we ended up giving him $850 worth. And so what he did after that, I don't have no idea, So the next day, the guy shows up, and when he shows up, he give him an excuse and say that when he went to go get the heroin, after he left, some guys robbed him, and he was scared, and he didn't know what to do. But, it was a lie. He went off with dope and used it all up, and he came back 2 days later with a BS story. So I knew right then and there, man. One of my biggest regrets is that I didn't pay the $1,500, man. If I could go back and do it all over again, man, when he asked me for the $1,500, I'm thinking, man, give me no damn $1,500, dude. Ran off these people's shit. You got to deal with that. But I wish I would have just handed that man $1,500 so he can hand it to them. And I'm going to tell you why. So, I don't know. It was like less than a week later. And they had took and, when I say they, one of the guys that he had cheated out of that money had turned off the power in the back of his house. The new houses come with the breaker box on the inside of the house, but this particular guy had the breaker box on the outside of the house. And one of them guys turned that breaker box off. And when they turned that breaker box off, he came outside to see, maybe he thought he'd blow a fuse or something like that, and they killed him. So after that, I told the dudes in our house, man, I said, man, we got to clean this house up, man, because they going to come here. I don't know why they going to come here, but my every instinct said, man, they coming up in here, because it right next door, they might think we had something to do with this. And they said, we ain't had nothing to do with this, and I know we didn't, and they know we didn't, but shit, let's clean this house up. So I got a couple of more people that use drugs, and so I told them, man, tear this house up, everything you find, you keep. So they are searching this house like you will not believe. And as they searching it, they finding what? Drugs in the house. They said, how much of this can I keep? I said, keep all of it. Anything you find, you keep. So they steady finding drugs in this house where these guys done slipped. And one time they found a big old pack, Ziploc pack, just full of coke. And the guy I'm talking about, Dre, he was adamant about it was his, and he had lost it, and he had been looking for it. And I told him, I said, well, you might as well keep on looking for it, because I told them anything they find, they keep, and goddamn it, that's what I'm going to do. So I told him to keep it. And stop telling me about everything you find. You find it, stick it in your pocket and keep it. I don't want to have no words with them about these drugs. I told them, whatever you find is yours. So they steady cleaning up this house, looking for everything and that they can find. And I tell them, man, take that microwave, man, and get it up out of here. So they want to know what I want them to do with the microwave. I made it clear. I want it gone. I don't want them saying that we cooked something in there. We didn't even, I didn't even process no drugs in that microwave. That microwave was used strictly for, I guess, heating up whatever it is they ate, McDonald's or Gates Barbecue or whatever. But like I said, I didn't want them to have no excuse. So I also told everybody, man, get your money out of there. Get your money out of there. So Woody took his money down to 12th Street, gave it to his mom. His mom was going to keep it, take good care of it. And my brother gave his to my ex-wife. So Norm took his money, and he already knows she was going to keep it and put it up for him. No issue. But Dre, hard-headed that he was, said that he took his money and home. And I was like, look, man, y'all can't have nothing in this house. So I took the pistol out of there. Wasn't no drugs in this house. And I said, we just got to sit. We just got to sit. Ain't going to be no drugs selling or nothing, because they coming in this house. And sure enough, it was a couple of days. They thought I was tripping. But about 10 o'clock in the morning, they hit that house. When they hit that house, man, they put every ass up in there on the ground. They searched the house, tear it all up. When they get through tearing it all up, they didn't find nothing, of course. But they took off Dre's shoes, and he had $1,500 on each side, up under the tongue of his shoe. And I was pissed, man, because I had just told this dude that they was coming in this house and don't have nothing on you. But what's ironic, the night before they hit the house, he was riding around in that old raggedy car that he bought, and the police pulled him over, and I guess they gave him a break because the tags came up stolen, so they seized the car. And when they seized the car, it wasn't registered. They sent him off walking, told him, man, you got to get somebody to register that car and vouch for whatever else was in there. And from what I heard, they had something that didn't have no business in there. I don't know if it was some weed or some drugs from somewhere or whatever, but he had asked me would I go and see what I can do about getting that car back for him. And I told him I'll check into that. So after the raid on the house and the police seized his money, you know, he come up and said, well, now I ain't got nothing. I done sold all these drugs and did everything, and I ain't got nothing to show for it. I said, well, you ain't got nothing to show for it because you're hard-headed. Like I said, hard-headed make a soft ass. He said, well, you think you can get my money back and since you can't get the car back? Well, the moral of the story is I looked him square in the eye and I told him, I'll check into that. And that's the end of the story. So when you out there, you know, it's more than one way to skin a cat. And like I said, this particular dude was hard-headed, man. He wouldn't listen. And I think I handled it the best way I could. People ask me, why didn't I just have those dudes just leave that dope house? If I would have did that, instead of raiding that particular house, the police would have came and raided my house. Because they would have found us and they would have raided wherever we was at. So they were going to talk to us one way or the other. So I thought, hey, just let them go ahead and raid the house. Let them have their little conversation and find out that, hey, we had nothing to do with that. And so, like I said, dude was hard-headed and I had to let him know I'll check into that. So hope you enjoyed the story. Like, subscribe, comment. Tell me what you would have did different. I want to hear your opinion. In the meantime, I guess that's the end of my visit with y'all. And I'm going to go back and see if there's something in the icebox to eat. So I can give me something to eat since I can't get no visit with eating. Peace. Talk to y'all later. This morning I wake up, before I put on my makeup, I say a little prayer for you. I'm combing my hair now.